travel quite a bit if you want to grow your company. And I've been traveling all over Asia. I go very frequently to China, I go to India. And one of the things that always amazed me is that when I'm in China, I talk to our colleagues there, they're very fond of the Chinese model. They are very proud of the successes China has achieved. A lot of them believe in the political system they have there. When I go to India, likewise, they're very proud of being Indian, despite the political differences, despite religious differences. But one thing that all have in common across Asia is they all aspire to have the American way of life. And that's what you're looking at up on the Swiss Alps. So that's what people aspire. I've never met anybody when I'm out in Asia who aspired to have a Saudi Arabian way of life. I've never met anybody who wanted to have the same life that people have in Iran. I've never met anybody who wanted to have the same life that people do in Venezuela. Not to offend any free countries, but it goes across the globe that people want to live that way. And that's going to come with an enormous cost to our society. And it's not a way of life that is sustainable if everybody wants to live like the Americans. But the good news is that there's actually a replacement that is secure, and a replacement that is also very sustainable, and that replacement is sugar. From sugar, with the help of biotechnology, we can make the exact same products that we today get from oil. So not just can we turn sugar into liquid fuel that we can use in cars, we can use in planes, we can use in ships, but we can also turn sugar into chemicals, we can turn sugar into bio-based materials and so on. We can make the exact same stuff that we actually get from oil today, and that's what we call the bio-based society. And not just is the bio-based society much more sustainable than the oil-based society, but there's also another huge difference. And that is, if we look at where we find oil in the world, then the map here actually gives a very accurate picture of that. So if you're in a country in Asia, let's say you're India, let's say that you're China, if you aspire in many ways to have an enormous economic growth, a lot of your citizens want to live like North Americans live, it's probably not a very wise strategic decision to base your entire society on oil. At least if you base your society on oil, it comes with an enormous strategic disadvantage to countries like India and countries like China. So obviously, those countries would need a replacement. And the replacement is at hand. One of the replacements where we can get the sugar from is agricultural residues. You can also get it from paper waste, you can get it from municipal solid waste, you can get it from forestry waste, any kind of waste material. We can basically take out the sugar and make the products that we want. But just to give you one simple example of where Asia has strategic advantage compared to the oil-based society is agricultural waste. The green color indicates the amount of agricultural waste. And as you can clearly see here, Latin America, North America, and Asia actually already today produces an enormous amount of agricultural waste. In the future, Asia will have an even bigger advantage because today most of the agricultural sector in Asia is very underdeveloped. The yields here are much lower than the yields are in the US. The yields are even significantly lower than the yields in Latin America. So the agricultural residues are just going to grow very significantly in the future. This gives Asia an enormous opportunity. If we then look at the journey from the oil-based society towards the bio-based society, there's also enormously business opportunities. The World Economic Forum last year released a report on the bio-based society, and their calculations show that in 2020, the total value chain of the bio-based society will be $230 billion worldwide. So there's an enormous business opportunity out there. The vast majority of that turnover will actually be in rural areas, which also again is an enormous advantage for most Asian countries. Particularly, of course, countries like India and again China, who doesn't want everybody to move to the big cities. So we're actually creating a lot of jobs in rural areas. The World Wildlife Foundation has also been looking into this, and according to their calculation, if we shift just a tiny part of the oil-based products that we have today, we shift that to bio-based products. we can actually reduce the CO2 emissions with close to 1,700 million tons every year. That is an enormous figure. That's not going to solve all the problems we have with climate change, but that's actually a major contribution to fixing the problems we have with climate change. If we look just very quickly at some of the countries who have stuff at stake here, countries that are solely dependent on energy imports. India is a great example. If India took just 15% of its agricultural waste, that's a small part of all the waste, India could replace 60% of its current gasoline consumption. 60% of its current gasoline consumption. And the cost would be very, very low. At the same time, India would create 1 million new jobs in rural areas. If we look at China, obviously with a much higher energy consumption, but China, again, is also a country that is dependent on energy imports. China alone, by using a small fraction of agricultural waste, could reduce its import of oil with 10%, and at the same time create millions of jobs, well-paid jobs in rural areas. So the benefits are fairly obvious. We just need to get there. And in our vision of the bio-based society, we have a strong belief that we're going to go there sooner or later. But as most of you can imagine, there's a big difference between sooner and later. Therefore, we encourage everybody to join that endeavor and make sure that this happens actually sooner than later. And we invite everybody to join that journey also to end our energy for oil. Thank you very much.